Hey, what's going on, guys? Sir Da Vinci here with another weekly vendor reset video for the division. As always, the timestamps will be down in the description, and with the blueprint vendor, if something is for sale this week that I have already purchased, it will not show up for me. So definitely go to the blueprint vendor whether you watch this video or not. And without further ado, let's get started with it. Alright, so starting off as always here in the base of operations hub where all the DLCs start, we are going to start off with the exotic weapons here and a special equipment vendor for Phoenix credits. First off, we got the Pecan here, rolled with competent and self-preserved. The Cassidy this week rolled with destructive and trained. Historian rolled with vicious and dominant. This one does have decent headshot damage, base damage is a little low, but yeah, probably going to skip it this week. Liberator this week has prepared, commanding and determined, and the Centurion has brutal. Alright, and now still here in the special equipment vendor for Phoenix credits where you're going to look at the gear set pieces. Alright, so now moving over to the special blueprint vendor here, which is obviously the blueprints for Phoenix credits. This week we have First Wave PF45 blueprint, the Military M9 blueprint, Stamina knee pads, Stamina mask. We also have the Heavy magazine, the Angled grip, and the Performance gear mod. Alright, now heading upstairs in the base of operations to the advanced weaponry vendor for base credits. We are going to have a pretty nice Navy MP5N here with 22.5% critical hit chance, 21.3 thousand base damage with my firearms. It's rolled with Unforgiving, Hurried, and Adept. Adept is perfect to have in the third slot due to it having an electronics requirement that not a lot of people might reach. Hurried is good for SMGs, obviously only SMGs can have it. But for any high rate of fire SMGs with a lower mag, so obviously the MP5 isn't going to take as much of a advantage from it, but it's still a good talent to have. Increasing your reload speed with SMGs that have higher rates of fire that are going to deplete the mag really fast is nice, and obviously having the increased critical hit chance is going to mean that this is going to proc a lot more often. So it's not a bad talent to have. Obviously you could have something like Deadly and Responsive instead of that. But it's still not bad. You could roll away Unforgiving if you don't have the stamina, but if you do have the stamina for Unforgiving, definitely keep that if you're looking for a PvP roll. Keep Adept, and then you could roll away Hurried for either Responsive or Deadly. I would probably suggest Responsive due to the fact that seeing as how you're going to be using SMGs up close anyway, and that's a pretty much guaranteed increase of damage rather than having to rely on actually getting a critical hit with the SMG in order for Deadly to have an effect. So not a bad one to pick up, especially not for base credits. Alright, still in the base of operations here now at the Dark Zone gear vendor. We have a pretty nice backpack here. It's an operator pack that is rolled with the talent Specialized, which is my personal favorite. As you can see, I'm wearing one right now. This one's rolled with stamina. The armor on it is a little low, but the stamina roll on it is actually very high. I believe the max is 1272. It also comes with a major attribute of skill power and ammo capacity in the minor slot, which is perfect. You always want to have ammo capacity there, nothing else that's really worth getting in that slot. Obviously for the major attributes you can get health instead of the skill power, but it's up to you. But having that skill power on top of the fact that this is a very high rolled stamina backpack is pretty nice combination if you're looking to increase the effectiveness or like your first aid or something like that if you're running solo. So not a bad backpack to pick up. Unfortunately, obviously, it's for Dark Zone funds, so if you're not really someone who plays in the Dark Zone, this one's going to cost you 277,440 Dark Zone funds, which is quite a lot. But if you have the amount for it and need a backpack like this, not a bad one to pick up at all. Alright, now at the entrance of the base of operations here at the weapons vendor, we have a actually really good converted SMG9 here. I wouldn't usually suggest this weapon just because it's not that great, but the talents on it are almost perfectly rolled, and it's not too bad. So we're going to look at it now. We got 20% critical hit chance, a little on the lower side. I believe the max is 23. 21,000 base damage is actually pretty good. The one downside to this gun is it cannot use a underbarrel, which is actually kind of shitty on SMGs due to the fact that the underbarrel you can get could increase the critical hit damage by up to 19%. So that's kind of unfortunate. But Looking at the rest of the weapon, the RPM is pretty good alongside a 32 bullet mag, which is the second highest in the game, tied with the MP5, and just short of, not just short, but in second compared to the PP19, which has a 50-something bullet clip. But it's rolled with responsive, deadly, and fierce, which are three perfect talents for SMGs. Obviously, being in close range with them is going to take advantage of responsive, deadly due to the fact that you're going to have high critical hit chance, and fierce in the third slot, which I believe might have an electronic requirement, so it's nice to have in the third slot. Obviously, increasing your critical hit chance by a little bit more. This is one that you could argue, like in competition with Adept, and Adept increases your critical hit chance by 7.5% after 30 seconds or maybe less after activating a skill. So obviously it's a 2.5% increase of critical hit chance that you would get from Adept, but Fierce is a constant 5% no matter what. It's a guaranteed 5% critical hit chance increase. So you could obviously roll that away if you want for something better. Even Competent in the third slot could potentially be better than having Fierce if you have high enough critical hit chance so you don't need it. So definitely not a bad one to look at. Like I said, base credits, so definitely check it out, try it out, maybe do a little experimenting. Maybe you could find a way that this gun could actually be better than some other SMGs. Alright, so we've skipped quite a bit of stuff, as you could probably tell by the shortness of this video. We are now at the 5th Ave Dark Zone checkpoint at the southern entrance of it. At the vendor here we have a prototype stamina mod with 265 stamina and 3% skill haste. Obviously the stamina roll is very high. 3% skill haste is not the best thing you could have in the major attribute slot, but due to the fact that it's high stamina roll, obviously skill haste is pretty nice. If you're looking to make something like a support build that's more focused on stamina and so that staying alive, and obviously the high skill power to make effectiveness of your skills, so you're not really going to have much DPS, then this isn't a bad one to have. That way you're kind of staying tanky, and at the same time your skills are going to be regenerating a little faster. If you run 5 of these, you'll have an increase of 15% skill haste, which will obviously help your skills regenerate faster. And if you're looking for like a healer, then you'll have your support station and first aid available at least a decent amount quicker. Alright, next up here at the West 39th Street Dark Zone checkpoint, we come into the vendor to find a pretty nice prototype firearms mod here with 251 firearms, which is a pretty decent roll, and also 3,122 skill power. If you're looking to run a build similar to mine, you want to increase your firearms as much as you can to get a really high DPS, especially, and take advantage of high firearm stacking, scaling weapons like the AK and stuff like that. On top of being able to increase your skill power a little bit, that way, due to the fact that you're going to be focusing more on firearms and toughness, you're going to probably be needing to heal more often and want to have your heal you to max. That way you're not dying as quickly, due to the fact that your toughness is going to be a bit lower. So this combination is actually pretty good for my build. My build's focused more on a high-end build, not a gear set piece build, but definitely a decent one to pick up. Obviously, with it being Dark Zone funds, if you don't run the Dark Zone all that often, you're not really going to be able to afford too many of them. But there's only 21,000 Dark Zone funds for each one, which is actually really not that much. So definitely check this one out. Alright guys, we are now in the Dark Zone. First off here at the DZ08 safe room. We're going to start off by looking at the gear set pieces here now. Alright, also here in the DZ08 safe room at the Dark Zone gear vendor, which is also in here outside the room where the gear set pieces were. We go here to find a decent chest piece here with 1999 armor. It comes with firearms rolled on it at 1243, and it comes with a rapid talent, which is actually a pretty decent talent. Decreases the cooldown of your healing skills by 15%, so if you're someone running a support build with the support station and also first aid, obviously that's going to reduce the cooldown of them by 15%. So that's very nice. Obviously at the same time you're missing out on having a chest piece of that gear set, so you're going to be missing out on another high-end possible item that you might actually want in your build though, so just keep that in mind. Although this is still going to be very nice for anyone that's running like a solo build. You can have this on to increase the rate of reset rate of your first aid, which is very nice. And it also is rolled with 15,171 health, which is a very good major attribute to have, and also 9% skill haste. So on top of that 15% increase of the healing skills recharge rate, you're also going to have another 9% skill haste, bumping that up to basically having 24% reduction of the skill cooldown for healing skills, and obviously 9% on every skill that you have on equip in total. So for this one, if as long as you're running a firearms more focused build, because obviously the firearms is the base stat here, you're probably going to want to roll away the minor attribute of experience or kill experience to ammo capacity. If you can afford to not have the ammo capacity, then feel free to roll away whatever you feel like you don't want on this chest piece. But other than that, not a bad one to get. Obviously, as said before, Dark Zone funds are killer, especially if you don't play in the Dark Zone a whole lot, and armor pieces cost up to about 278,000 Dark Zone funds. Alright, next up here now at the DZ09 Dark Zone safe room. At the special vendor here, we will scroll through the armor gear set pieces now. Alright guys, and finally here at the DZ06 Dark Zone safe room, we will scroll through the gear set pieces here now. Alright guys, well that's going to do it for probably the most lackluster vendor reset video for the division I have ever done personally, at least. There was literally not a single safe house in the open world that had anything worthwhile checking out. There are a few items in the Dark Zone checkpoints and obviously the gear set pieces that I showed off in the Dark Zone safe rooms. But other than that, I mean, there were a couple things in the base of operations. But yeah, I mean, the blueprints are pretty crappy this week. Unless there's one that, like I said, if I've already bought it, then it's not there. Then obviously check that out. But other than that, this is probably the shortest video I'm ever going to make. Either way, hope you guys enjoyed this week. Obviously, it's going to be a little harder to do so due to the fact that there isn't a whole lot to show off. But you guys have a nice weekend, and I'll see you guys next week.